5. Can I get a motion to, oh wait, we gotta take roll, sorry.
Ms. Atkins. Mrs. McDaniel.
Here.
Mrs. Peterson. Mrs. Sheffel.
Here.
Mr. Sorensen.
Here.
Mr. Sturm.
Here.
Mr. Wright.
Here.
I feel like we all need to like shift towards you.
Or is there something wrong with me? Okay, can we please get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen.
Yes.
Mr. Sturm.
Yes.
Mr. Wright.
Yes. Commendations, good news.
Yep, so I have just a handful of things here. Calling it Titan moments. So we had 8 of our 13 girl wrestlers qualify for state on Saturday, or on Friday, so that's very exciting. And that's Vea Smith, Emerson Gregg, Cassidy Fiala, Lindsay Trotter, Mari Mans, Kaylin Jo Westerfield, Madison Wright, Katie Schrader. And state is going to be this weekend. They're also the regional champs. It was pretty crazy. They were losing to Hinton as far as the team score goes, and I think they were down by, I don't know, 13 or so with about 3 matches left, or 2 matches left, and they won the 2, and they got to 100. So Hinton at 190 points, and Lewis Central 187 points, and then the thing about wrestling is only the top 2 go to state, and so the winner obviously goes, and then if whoever wins the 3rd place match, if they hadn't already wrestled the person that was sitting in 2nd, the person that lost, then they wrestle to see who gets to go to state. So it's not like you have the championship match and then both of those 2 get to go to state. It's if the 2nd place person hasn't already beaten the 3rd place person, then those 2 wrestle off to go to state. So there's usually not a lot of them. There's usually 2 or 3, maybe 4 of that scenario that happens. If the 2nd place person's already beaten the 3rd place person, then it's a mute point, and they just give it to 2nd place person to go. So actually, we had someone who'd gotten 3rd, won the 3rd, 4th place match, but hadn't wrestled the 2nd place person, so she got to wrestle the 2nd place person. She beat her at the end, and which was 3 points, and that happened to let us tie. So just kind of a whole big happenstance thing. It was pretty cool though. So, but yeah, 8 out of 13 qualified. That's this week. So excited for them. So on Thursday they had the Special Olympics basketball was going on at Iowa Western. And so we had quite a few athletes participate. It was a great crowd. I got there right at the very end as everybody happened to be leaving. I thought it went until 2. They were done a little bit before 1, about 12:30-ish, so they got done early, so I missed them. But it's always a great day. Anytime we can get the community to come out and support any of our athletes, especially our Special Olympic athletes, they really appreciate it. So I put this up here because this is kind of cool. Anytime we can get our older students to go down and volunteer with the younger students, that's great. So this is the middle school leadership group. They went down and volunteered some time down at Kreft. So that's awesome. So we'll try to do more of those types of things. This is from the city duels. And so we won. We didn't give up any more than 12 points to anybody else. So again, we are city champs. The 4th grade musical did a musical called Dig It. So they, from what I can hear, it was amazing. They always are. Even the people that brought cookies this time brought enough for, I'm laughing because Teammates sponsors the cookies out in the commons afterwards. And the very first musical Dr. Hartman shows up to, she got like two trays of brownies, and I was like, not gonna be enough. And she's like, what do you mean? It's what was it, 2nd grade? No, 5th grade. Yeah. She's like a 5th grade musical, and I'm like, well, there will be 1,100 people here tonight, and you brought brownies for about 60 of them. So I had to go find a knife. We cut them into like little sections, and I said it doesn't matter because they're gonna end up taking 2, 3, 4 sections anyway, and sure enough, I think the first 20 people out of the gates got a brownie,
Yeah,
so.
I was home before you even came back around.
Yeah, by the time I was out, you were gone. So this time I heard there were plenty of cookies, so kudos to you for coming prepared. And then this Thursday is the 3rd grade musical, so pretty excited about that. So it's another show choir. Show choir continues to go out and kind of, they really are doing well this year. This is at the Ralston update. We've had a couple really outstanding individual performers. Obviously, our show choir squad in general, both groups do a great job. We've had some standout performers individually as well. Up in Sioux Falls, if I remember right, and I think Mrs. Adkins talked about this, that they were actually giving out scholarships. So we had some people win scholarships up there. But this particular one at Ralston, Cami Damgard was listed as best performer. Corporation was that's our mixed group. They got second runner-up in the finals, and then they participated again. How did they do at Millard West? Do you know?
Neither one of them were in the finals.
They didn't make the finals
Yeah.
that time. Okay.
So the
That's-
next one is in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin.
Madison, Wisconsin. It's fun. Okay. Is that it? That is it.
Is there any other commendations, good news? Okay. We'll move forward to comments and suggestions. This is the first section during our board meeting where we allow members of the public or those observing online to share their thoughts with the board. Do we have anybody that wants to speak to the board at this time?
No comments yet.
Okay. Then we will move forward from there to the consent agenda. If I can get a motion to approve. And do we have is that an updated personnel sheet?
Yes, it is an updated personnel sheet.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, vote please.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. Okay, reports. Superintendent report.
Just got a couple parent-teacher conferences, just got finished up, so that's the last one for elementary for this year. The middle school, high school will have one more in the spring. One of the things you guys will be seeing is we're gonna start having conversations about doing some strategic planning this summer. And so what that means is Dr. Hartman and our district-wide leadership teams have been working hard to develop some consistent goals. And we've had goals. We usually have quite a few goals. Trying to narrow those down a little bit, and as far as like where do we really want to be academically? Like what do we want our goals to be? But then also I'd like the board to take a look at like what are some other overarching goals. I know when I first got here, I think we had 9 goals that I looked at. I think this last go round, they'd kind of highlighted about 5 or 6 goals from the oversight committee. So I just want to make sure that when we get really down to it, that we have a strategic plan that's clearly defined, that we're able to share out with everybody, and that they're able to articulate pretty quickly. 9 goals is a lot. If we can get that number down to 3 or 4 really fine-tuned goals and then kind of branch out from there, that'd be great. So what that will look like is I've engaged with SAI to provide us kind of a guide person. So somebody that's going to come in March. I'll lock down a date with them this week where they're going to come out and they're going to talk about the process with you and talk about like what goes into it. There's some community surveying, staff surveying. It's conversations with you guys about like what are your priorities. We'll take a look at our mission statement, our vision statement, and just they'll kind of explain the process to you in March. And then in April, May, we'll send out the surveys and try to get back information. The surveys will be kind of designed around those kind of leading topics that you guys would be interested in. Usually it's academic performance, culture, communication, finance. It could be around technology. It could be around, a variety of things, facilities. And then, once we have all that done, and then in June, we'll do more of an all-day work session. We'll find a day in June and have them come back. And then that's when you guys will take a deep dive into the data. We'll talk about where we currently sit at in regards to each one of the kind of topics you guys have asked them to research on. And then collaboratively, you'll work through a process that will give us some clarity on like what are some finalized goals, what's our mission statement like, is it good, do we want to change it, what's our vision like, is it good, do we want to change it, it's just kind of making sure that we have that set, and then that all gets kind of ratified and confirmed, and then we'll meet with, as part of that process, once you guys have identified all of that, I'll take that then to SIAC and kind of involve the SIAC committee in that. And then at the end of that, then you guys will kind of have the final say as far as like, okay, here's what we've talked about, here were SIAC's contributions to it, and then you'll set it and we'll be good. And then that'll be put on a new website or a new page on our website that'll be all about strategic planning. And then from there, we've talked about making sure that we provide good timely updates to community members on a variety of things. And so we want to make sure that website's always updated with, here's our performance data, here's where we set out with our budget. So then it's kind of just one place where a community member can be like, I wonder what this district's about. And then they go there and they see our strategic plan and they're like, oh, finance, let's click on this and see where we're at with finance. Oh, let's see where we're at with school performance. So that's kind of the end goal. So just kind of giving you guys a heads up there. Other than that, I'm going to turn it over. As far as facilities goes, I do have Mr. Wallace here, who's going to give us a quick rundown of kind of where we sit with bond projects. She does, yep. It's yep.
That one right there. Well, I can't see that, but I can go off memory. There we go. Okay, so just some overall updates for you where we're at with things. Not part of the bond, but the HVAC project at the high school. Start with that. The Ray Martin has been on site on and off for the last month, running some electrical ahead of time. Right now, they're currently installing the gas lines across the roof. And the electrician's back there right now too, doing some main piping for the new electrical panels out of the switchgear that's in the back room. So they're well ahead of the game of just getting a lot of the infrastructure to where it needs to be, so when the equipment comes, it's all ready. Updates on equipment, we're looking at the chiller showing up late May. Yeah, that's right, late May, and then the air handlers about 2 or 3 weeks behind that. Not guaranteeing anything at this time, but that may allow us to do the chiller work early before the summer hits and the school is really demanding it. And students would still be in session, but if the building's not calling for cooling, that would be a good time to do it. That way we don't really have that shutdown during the summer when the building's occupied and it is miserably hot. So that's moving along pretty good. As far as the rest of the projects, I'll kind of mainly just focus on where we're at with the bid process right now. I know we've discussed the actual projects a fair amount, but we're kind of at that point now where a lot of things are in design, close to finishing design, we're getting ready to put things out to bid. So here in the next 2 weeks, we should have the high school fire alarm ready to go out for bid. The high school roofing, which is, if you remember, we're going to do the north 2-story area of the high school this year, since we found out the good news on the middle school roof that we don't have to do that entire roof. So that would go out also here in about 2 weeks, along with the middle school small chunker roof, all here mid-February. In March, we'll be having all the paving projects ready to go out. So the high school parking lot, along with the tennis court, the middle school, or not the middle school, I got a typo in that one, Titan Hill parking lot with the added queuing lane, that should all be ready to go out for bid in March. And then the last big ones that'll go out for bid this year will be the secure entrances. Creft will be ready probably in March also to get out for bid. It's a much smaller scope than the high school is becoming. The high school is going to be a little bit more design time, so I don't really have a date nailed down for that yet. And then the final thing that we're kind of preparing, Titan Hill Mechanical, we're looking at supplementing the geothermal system up here at Titan Hill because it struggles to keep up. We do have one design fee in at this point, but we've chosen to go out and get a second design fee just kind of as a check and make sure that we're keeping people in line. So we're hoping to have those ready for you with the design proposals for next board meeting. Other than that, there hasn't really been any major changes to what we were looking to do that we've discussed with you previously. So things are moving along good and kind of holding the schedule we were hoping to have to get bids out here early in the spring and get some good numbers back so that everything's ready to go in the summer like we're planning. Any questions?
Is the scope went down through the drain yet?
Nope, we have not got
Not
that
yet?
done yet. I asked Jim to get an update from the guy and I haven't heard back on it, so still waiting to hear on that one. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next, I actually asked Optimize Systems to, they came and did a presentation for our facilities committee. I know anytime you spend money and we can actually show you something, that it's better. So what I'd like to see is, a lot of times, you know, we talk about this bond money as like we're spending money which you'll never see, but you'll feel you know, so this is one of those, when you put a new system, backbone in for your HVAC system, for monitoring and changing temps and all that kind of stuff, you don't really see it like your typical consumer wouldn't see it. However, we can actually see this. So I thought this would be a good thing to have.
How would you like to try to display that with the room here? I didn't know if we were gonna be able to show kind of a demo tonight or not.
Yeah,
so the way things are set up.
Yeah, I think you can. What I'd like to see is, we'll probably have, you connect to our, Vivi, so I'll probably have Dr. Hartman jump off the Vivi. Hopefully people online can see the picture above us here. And then I'll have you kind of, would that work? Okay,
We might have to come back to it if it takes a while to install.
Okay.
If I remember right, so.
that's fine. Do you want to?
I'm not sure people will be able to get online unless.
Yeah, we'll present it either way and hopefully people can see it a little bit. Maybe we'll have you zoom in with the camera or something on the overhead. Are you just downloading it now?
Well, we probably need, computer boot up here.
Okay.
I don't know, when you get out here with the right Wi-Fi and everything, this computer,
Oh, gotcha, okay.
so it might take.
I think we have you can probably just hook in with HDMI. Do you have HDMI port?
Yeah.
You can probably just do that. I'll just move this.
Something you can email me, or you just want to take over my computer?
Well, it's a program,
It's a program.
so, yeah,
You
here.
have HDMI in that over.
Yeah, I have HDMI, yep. Do we have a long HDMI cord? Do you know, Emma? No?
Okay, just that one that's already there.
Okay, I'm gonna move this way back. We'll do a quick technical switch. You're back in the flag. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no worries. So I'm sitting here.
that was that we originally put in the system. It's Niagara Supervisor. We put this in over the summer time frame. We brought in the high school. The high school already had a component in there that allowed us to speak the same language, so we were able to pick it up. But the first thing that we do for all of our customers is we develop specifications and standards and guidelines for the ultimate goal of allowing open competitive bid process for all your contractors. So that way you're not held to just one contractor to always have to be here, get too comfortable, we'll call it, but you get competitive pricing. But they follow the same set of guidelines and standards as all other contractors have to, so there's no cutting corners. So what we did, just to show you real quick, we have a standard specification that we throw together. This goes in the contract documents from the design engineer. So we sit down with Jim, anybody else in the district, contractors, we go through this, we outline the specification again that gets put into the contract documents. Then we go out and we sit down with Jim and facilities to talk about what is it that they want their new front end to look like, operate like, alarms, scheduling, things of that nature. And we go through and we outline specifics on how your contractor's going to actually set up, define, and implement their work. And then we go in and we give them a set of point names and tagging, a lot of things within your control systems. Every programmer programs different. Every programmer names points different. Pretty soon your points become just kind of a smorgasbord. So again, we outline these throughout all of your different HVAC equipment, chillers, boilers, air handlers, VAV boxes, everything you might have. We give them a point naming scheme and they follow that. So again, the goal is when you get to the end result, which I'll show you here, it becomes a seamless integration that they can see from their phone, tablet, any computer that would be able to get onto the network. So this would be your main district landing page. No, I'm sorry, that is not. We actually have it here. I was thinking of the high school. So here would be your district landing page. Again, all we've done is just develop the template here. Ultimately, you're going to end up having all of your buildings in the district here show up, overlaid on top of probably a map. All of your master schedules, district schedules, will have one button push buttons for snow days, hot days, things like that, to where you can automatically, with a single click, shut everything down. Or if it's going to be below, let's say 20 degrees, we go ahead and turn everything on. That way it doesn't possibly freeze at night if you got some issues. We have alarm consoles that are set up in here. Again, more schedules. But if we go back to the high school that we do have pulled in here, we can see here that we're operating per the schedules. We can see what our chilled water, hot water system's doing here. Our critical alarms are down here on the bottom. It does tell us exactly what's going on from an alarm standpoint. Floor plan wise, we can click on these. It'll take us right down into that section. It'll tell us the temp in that room, tell us what VAV number in this particular case, what room number. It also shows us the actual, you see it went to a hand here, but it actually overlays where that physical piece of equipment would be in the ceiling, which does help facilities as well, so they can know exactly where they need to go. Will it disrupt class? Things of that nature. So when you click on it, it'll actually bring up that piece of equipment, give you all the data within that piece of equipment. If it's an alarm, it'll be red. If something's overridden, like you see here, it's purple. You manually change things right here, and you can tell it to be whatever you'd like. If you want to see what your temperature's been doing over a period of time, you can actually get in here and see that, and it's all real time based on whatever time you determine. You can see the spikes here. I guarantee you that's probably when there's kids in the room. Temperature's going up 71.5 down to 69.5. So it looks worse than what it really is, but again, it's quick and painless.
So for that map you had before with the A, B, C, D sections.
Yep.
Was each of those letters a different air handling unit?
No, those are just areas.
Okay,
Most
so
of the
it's
time, they
still
come
fine.
off of the mechanical drawings
Okay.
that the engineer and architects have put out. A lot of times they'll have those broken down and we follow that. We take those, send them out to get the 3D renderings made. So that way the areas match up with the areas on the prints. One thing that we do here too is we have a tab up here called Building Library. We can actually put the PDFs of all those construction documents in here. We can put the PDFs of the control drawings, installation instructions. Some customers don't really have an asset management program for their HVAC equipment. So you could actually have this, do that to some degree. Obviously, someone would have to data entry it. But if you look at a air handling unit, we'll just pull one up here. Hopefully. So here would be an example of a air handling unit serving conditioned air to VAV boxes. But we have equipment info over here on the side, model number, serial number. We also have a tab called maintenance info. You can put in here how many filters are required, size of filters, when was a unit installed, belt part numbers for the supply, return fan, whatever they might have. So again, we use this just as a tool for facilities to, if the guy's out there getting a call and he just has his phone, he doesn't have to go run to a computer or have to go back to the facilities office. Realistically, this could be used as a single point for him to, or her to find everything they need to. So really, it's as powerful as you want it to make it, and that's what we've tailored this around just based off of how facilities is organized here. We've had some customers like OPS, they're very more operator type, read-only type, to where they have more of just a janitor in each building that oversees it versus someone with very high technical skills, to where we give them a lot less on the page and they can only modify room set point or a schedule, to where here they can get in and modify everything they choose to.
So when alarms are shown on the rooms, does it send a notification to anybody
Yep.
outside, or do you have to be looking at the system to see?
No, so if you're on the system, if you didn't hear that horn when I first logged in, it would be an annoying but we can set that up to email those out to anybody.
Okay.
And then it can be even set up to escalate. If we don't get a response or an acknowledgement, it'll go to the next person. That can come through as a text on your phone as well. That's something that's pretty easily set up with IT.
So other than just the monitoring and scheduling and, like a thermostat, controlling the buildings, one of the biggest benefits is the alarming that they can do for you. And if it's a weekend, nobody's here, something happens, instead of showing up Monday morning to something frozen that needs fully replaced, or floods a room out, or whatever, you can identify that earlier and possibly fix it before the big problem. And it'll also point you right to where you need to go. It'll tell you what piece of equipment is the one that's causing the problems, not just going to the building and wandering around looking for it.
Yeah, so within your alarm console that you see here, it does tell us exactly where that alarm is coming from.
It'll tell you too, like in a unit, like if it's a fan that's not running or spinning, like it'll tell you like, so it's not just, you know, if it's down, you don't have to go like, spend a lot of time messing around and trying to figure out why it's down, you know, because the fan's not working or because, you know, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point of this, is to have a master type scheduling system, alarm system, and also trending histories. So with all the data at your fingertips, you can go ahead and utilize that to help with energy efficiency, reducing operating cost, seeing if things are running, you know, out of control. Then it just comes down to some programming changes, and we can make that be more energy efficient as well.
And besides HVAC, what else can you plug into this?
Pretty much anything.
I was just gonna ask about flow meters for water.
Yeah,
things like that.
absolutely.
Refrigerators?
Yep, if you have refrigerators or freezers that you want to have monitored, so you don't lose product in there, which can be very expensive, yep, absolutely. It can be in there, and it'll be set up as a critical alarm, so if that does trip, there's not even a time delay on that. It instantly is going to someone's phone to, hey, go see if the door's left open or something, let's say. Yep. But otherwise, I'm sorry.
Big benefit for something like this, because especially with an escalation list where they, okay, you get an email and a text, and then if no one answers that, it goes back again and it goes down the list, because I'm on one at work. And so when I get the email and text, and plus it is redundant because the person who gets it first, he only got a text, he didn't get the email. So why didn't you get the email? So you can always constantly make sure that the equipment is monitored and the alarm system is set up right and
Yeah.
working.
Yep. Yeah, it's a very powerful tool. There's hundreds of different communication protocol drivers. In other words, a language that it can speak. It's just a matter of purchasing that license and throwing it on here, and then it will go ahead and be able to discover those devices and then communicate with it. The supervisor's all on your virtual server for the district. The high school individual buildings would each have its own network gateway that's going to communicate on your network that will pick that up on your virtual server. So there's no security risk working with IT here. The VPNs that are set up are secure and whatnot, so you can still get to it remotely for service if need be, which is good. And that includes them too. So I know there was some issues in the past, and we helped work with Chris over in IT with some things, and he's been very accommodating, and it's been working great. So it's been good.
And you said it also tracks like when people acknowledge alarms, so does it have like a set of like audit trails in it as well?
It does, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, if you open up an alarm, you can actually come down and you can see if it's been acknowledged and who. There is a audit history as well. So if anybody gets in and starts clicking in anything they do, it will track that as well, yep. But yeah, I think that's everything I can think of
We could
real
go
quick.
forever.
It's so true.
Short on time, and just wanted to show you guys
Thank you.
a quick snapshot of where we're at, what it can do, and another one of the agenda items here is approving them to expand the remaining buildings and bring the whole district together as one. So that'd be a good time to give you a little show of where we're at. and what the rest of-
This is a good demo.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Appreciate it.
covered our bond facility update and
Yep.
optimized prep. Okay.
Yep. Moving right along.
All right, so we will move on to discussion items. 7.01, optimized systems HVAC control bid.
So this is the bid that we just talked about. So far, we have built, they have built the main front end, which is essentially what you saw up there. It includes the high school. That was a priority because we wanted to make sure that with the new systems going in the high school, that we're able to create zones and we're able to turn them off and on as needed, with more efficiency than what we had now. So now that that's been created, now we'd like to start moving the other buildings into one platform so we can monitor and take care of it all from one platform. It's obviously it's not inexpensive to do so. So when you look at, if you go down to the bid, scroll down. Keep going, just go to the price area. So this is all that they're gonna do. Their math was a little off. I had them redo the math, so. But yeah, you'll see, for instance, Craft Primary School to bring that online, Titan Hill, the middle school operations, and then Educational Resource Center, which is this building as well. So it's a total of actually $128,000, not 166. So what you guys would be approving is the expenditure of $128,000 to bring all the rest of the systems online.
The 166 is actually what the original.
Yeah, the original with me adding in the high school.
Oh, gotcha.
So if you want to look back at a total investment. that's what-
Gotcha, okay, gotcha.
Real quick, just to add, if you want to expand, but the building here, ERC, the network gateway that is installed here has been obsoleted since 2016, 17, right in there. So that is a cost to update that and get that all up and functioning as well, physically in here. If that wouldn't have been obsoleted, then the cost would have been less here.
Gotcha.
So we would have been able to utilize that gateway like we did at the high school. So,
Any discussion, questions? Okay. Moving forward to 7.02, secure entrance design bid, BCDM.
So all of you pull up the design bids. Which one's that? So we'll look at Craft first. So this is for two design bids. One is we're looking at if you scroll all the way down to the drawing, you'll see kind of what the plan is at Craft is to install. So the first two doorways are there. Right now you enter, you have a window, but then there's nothing separating. If we were to say, yep, come into the office, stopping them from go just wherever they want in the building. So this would actually just be installing a glass wall. It'd be a system very similar to what you see at Titan Hill, almost identical. So they would have to come in through the door, and then we would have to buzz them back out of the office. So that the door that then goes from the office out to the hallway at the top would have a buzzer system as well. So in order for them to enter the rest of the building, they'd have to go through a buzzer system. So, but at least that makes them have to come face to face with people before they are able to kind of go the rest of the building. Obviously in the morning, the doors are going to be open for arrival. They're going to be open at the end of the day for dismissal. Outside of that, they'll have to come through the office. So if you look, the Craft planning is about $5,000 because it is a vertical structure. We do have to have an architect stamp on it. But the architect fee for that is about $5,000. It's tying it into the structure of the building. So
It's not just, anybody can just put the glass up, but you need to do a code review on all the exiting and everything. There's some
HVAC.
code changes with buttons and buzzers and security, and there's also some HVAC review that needs to be done to make sure that now we're boxing off that vestibule, that the system is running to the right zones and all that. So there is a little bit more to it than just the doors themselves.
you'll see it's $5,000. That's relatively small compared to the high school. So I'm going to have you switch to the high school. So when you look at the high school, if you scroll all the way down, this one gets a little bit more intense. So essentially we looked at several options. One of the options was to basically, if you keep going down a little bit, basically take, oh, too far, right, a little farther, right there, stop. So basically take the corridor, the whole corridor space there and turn it into an additional office area. The problem is it removes kind of our flow opportunity for, so like if you, like where you come in the doors, like a regular doors, if you were to take all that space clear back to the office and that hallway and turn it all into office space, that would really restrict kind of some of the flow. Maybe not necessarily right now, but as our district grows, we talked about making sure that we leave those hallways available. So then the next option really wasn't that big of a cost savings anyway. So then the next option was to look at an external additions. Now if you scroll up a little bit. So the dark blue would be an external addition. You'll see essentially what we've done with that office area is added a covered vest or a vestibule that they would have to enter in through. We're gonna redo the pavement out in front anyway as part of the parking lot project, so it'll be kind of steering everybody towards that entrance. Once you're inside, you would go through kind of that corridor right there. We just visited West Side. They made a good recommendation, actually split that little corridor into two, put a little mini wall up there, so then people who are leaving go down one side, people entering go down another. So this is just a initial concept. We still got to vet things out as far as like what during the design phase, what exactly they're going to put in there. But they have to know as far as for a fee structure, approximate square footage of the area going to be affected, what they're going to be looking to do, et cetera. So the addition then, the first office in the blue, the first office off of the vestibule, the dark blue, that actually is moving our security guy from the back of the office to the front, where they can see the parking lot, where they can see the people entering the building, have them available front and center. The next space is an office for one of the assistant principals, and the next space is office for the other assistant principal, and then our principal right there. Right now, all the principals are kind of scattered around throughout the main office area there. This kind of centrally locates everybody for just availability and issues that arise from the front of the building. You'll see the rest of the blue, so then that front area of the blue, the light blue, that would all have to be, there's a wall right there that kind of runs through those two spaces. That's offices right now. That would have to be blown out and then kind of turn into like an area where some of the administrative assistants sit right now. And then that would allow that right there, that area to be expanded. Right now it's about half that wide. And so we need to be able to widen it out. So by removing those offices allows us to move that desk back, make that area wider for kids coming and going. And then in the initial is the nurse's office. Is that part of the initial?
Put it this way, the kind of orange box that's clattered around there, that's in the alternate. So if it's outside of that box, it's in the base bid number. If it's within that, that's the added.
Okay, so there is expanding the nurses, I mean, as far as adding a doorway and, yeah, adding a doorway and a shower to the nurse's office being part of the base bid as well. Everything on the outside of that and that orange box is if we wanted to reconfigure the whole office area, which we don't, we're not recommending that. We're just recommending the base bid of putting the addition on the front of the building and then adding that kind of light blue area. Essentially what this would do is all the kids, even though they come in a group in the morning and they leave as a group in the afternoon, from essentially 7:30 on, anybody that's rolling in late or coming in between 7:30 and 2:45 when we dismiss would have to come through that office area there. So we went and we toured West Side schools who did something very similar. And it was, I mean, kids are usually pretty easy. You know, they get the hang of it pretty quickly. And I would say that it was comforting to know, at least for me, to know that every student that came in the door outside of arrival and dismissal, every visitor that came through the door, was greeted by somebody face to face, that they had to have permission to enter, that they had permission to go to the rest of the building. I mean, it's significantly different than kind of what we have right now. And so, obviously, things can happen at any time for any reason, but this would help mitigate what happens, you know, for people that are, you know, during the school day, making sure. Separately, we're still gonna have all the work done as far as with the cameras and the buzzer system on the doors and those types of things, so that way, and alarms on the doors, so that way if a door's open during the day when it's not supposed to be opened, if it's propped open, if it's, you know, whatever it is, there will be audible alarms, and we'll know that kids are not using the doorway as it was intended. So, and we'll be able to quickly mitigate those situations as well. Now, if you scroll up,
Can I clarify though?
Yes.
The nurse's office, the shower looks like it's inside that, so where are we at on what it does and does
that's
not
not,
include?
real right now.
It's kind of, we're not finalized, so we will make sure the basement amount, the nurse's office gets addressed.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll show you real quick. This is actually not real, like, they've already done the drawing of what they think it should be.
Okay.
Let me enter mouse real
They've
quick.
been meeting with Joe at the high school quite a few times just to
Yeah.
fine tune things, so.
So.
It was more the cost and if it's included
Yeah,
or not.
so the nurse's office is really truly, it starts right here at the corner, and it works down right here. This is the nurse's office right now. This office does not exist, this office does not exist, this conference room does not exist, none of this exists, it's all, this is actually where the workroom is right now.
Yep,
And then, so the nurse's office is just a long skinny nurse's office with one door on the back end here. So we would like to we're gonna add a doorway over here and then add a little shower in there for the kids.
okay.
So, yeah.
And yeah, just clarifying it is in the basement then, so, okay, thank you.
But that's not included in this right now. Or it
The
is?
shower and the doorway is for the
Is,
nurse's
okay.
office. The rest of that is not. That's all conceptual.
Okay.
That we're not going to, that's included in the alternate bid. We don't need the alternate bid. We're just gonna do the base bid.
And what is the design cost for this?
Yep, so scroll up.
And note, within this cost, it's not just the architect, but there's a civil engineer, a structural engineer, a mechanical engineer, an electrical engineer, so this is a total design fee for the entire package.
Okay, so then when we're voting on this, it would be for the 141, 250?
Yep, correct.
And 5,000 for Kraft?
And 5,000 for Kraft, yep, so 146, 250. And just for timeline, the idea is that they're gonna have, these bids done in like early June, and then we would send it out to bid. Hopefully, we can get the external building done in the fall of '25. And then we'd probably just put a halt on it, because once we get the external building done, we don't want to disrupt, I mean, that would be a major disruption for how our office currently functions. So we'll get the external building put on first, and then in the summer, late spring, early summer, when school's out, then we'll demo the internal office and get it all done. So this will be done then for the 26-27 school year.
Well, you'd about have the exterior building done, right?
The exterior building will be done by
Finished and
probably, yeah,
everything.
by about Christmas, I think.
You could build it, enclose it, pretty much everything except the tie-in.
Right, right, yeah, you'd have to demo the office to tie in.
Yeah, finish hooking up some of the electrical,
We,
mechanical, whatever, but yeah, you could have 70% of it.
we talked about putting off construction completely until like spring of '26, but the problem is if something goes wrong with the external building portion of it, that gives us less time for the internal, and we potentially not start the school year in 26, 27 with it all done, versus if you do the exterior in the spring, or the spring and the fall/winter, you got quite a bit of cushion there if something goes wrong for you to continue to get all that done, and then all you gotta do is the tie-in and the internal renovation, so. Almost, I mean, knock on wood, almost guaranteeing us having it open 26, 27.
So just so it's clear in my head, we have the exterior and then we have the concrete outside. which one's gonna be done first, concrete, and then exterior will be finished after?
Concrete would be done first, but we'll make accommodations for this. And we're not gonna put something down to tear it back up.
That was kinda where I was
We'll either leave the
going.
existing until this goes, and then once this is built, then we pour the sidewalks and everything up to it.
Okay.
We'll definitely plan the paving and sidewalks with this.
Okay.
But again, this is just the design for this phase.
Any additional comments, questions? Okay. We'll move to 7.03, parking lot light design, Albine Engineering.
Yep, so, Albine Engineering, they did send us, an estimate on that. We did have it, Albine. It's actually- So they did send us an updated one. What was this? We for parking lots? Sorry, let's look at the tennis court. Scroll down, please. Okay, so this is now this is just for lights, so essentially what we're looking to do is have them, we gotta have electricity engineered because we're switching out the electricity component of the parking lot lights. And we're gonna do, continuous, was that what they call it, continuous running electrical, so we can put cameras up?
Well, so what this is, while we have the parking lots up, and you want to add cameras and everything, we're gonna upgrade your lighting system to all LED and everything new. Possibly reorient them a little bit too, to make it easier to snowplow and everything in there. That's the discussion. But, so we have to change the piping and wire for the new lights. But then while we have everything apart and putting new pole bases in, we're gonna add additional conduit as pole sleeves in there to be able to pull all the wiring needed for the new camera system that you wanna put in.
There you
Right
go.
now, that doesn't exist. You wouldn't be able to put cameras on it.
Right. So for the high school parking lot light design, or basically, electrical design, it's $12,500.
I see the construction in their proposal is 12 weeks, start June 2025. I'm guessing that works, the 12-week period with our cement, like when our parking lots are
Yeah, I
getting
think
done, or do they just,
They just matched it with what
they just
our-
match that? Okay.
Yeah, with what our estimation was.
This would have probably been in the Lamford Pearson proposal from last go around, but we got them on board a little late, we didn't have the proposal ready, so this is kind of an add-on to that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, they will design together. They
Okay.
will go out together.
Okay, and then if you go to the next one. Oh, keep going. Go back up real quick. That's all the bids, don't worry about that. So 12,500 for that. Yeah, there it is right there, that is bid negotiation. Yeah, so that's what the bid is, $12,500. Okay, you guys,
Any additional questions, comments? Then we'll look at 7.04, tennis court electrical design, also by Albine Engineering.
This one, they did give us an updated quote. I'm gonna send it to, because the original one that they had sent us, was using, competition lighting. And after conversation with Mr. Dermody and the tennis coaches, they don't really ever compete with the need of lights. And so we talked about, is there a reason that we would put competition lighting up? Maybe for the community, to utilize or something along those lines. But at the end of the day, that's a pretty hefty expense when you start talking competition lighting, so, and I don't know that we necessarily want a whole lot of people, because where the tennis court's looking to go, they're kind of in the backside of the school. Don't know that we need a whole bunch of people hanging out there late at night. We want the community to come and use them, during the day, but to basically entice people to come and hang out there at night. We get enough people hanging out in our parking lot at night. I don't know, I necessarily want more, so,
Well, and usually they're not there in February or January when it's
Yeah.
dark at 5 o'clock in the evening. They'd be there during the summer, which is lighter, so it's not like they're gonna be cut off at 6 o'clock at night.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And there will be some, so essentially what we asked them to do is instead of focus on competition lighting, they're gonna focus on more getting outlets out there so we can plug in like the tennis machines, and basically safety lighting and cameras. Like that's really what we need out there. So, so the bids changed. Originally on here was a little more. It came down from 24,000, it came down to $10,000. I just sent you guys an updated, so this you'll see is 24,000. That was for competition lighting. The updated one is $10,000. I just sent an email to all of you guys. Dr. Harmon, you should have it in your email real quick if you want to pull it up. Excuse me.
The cost difference of the actual lighting itself for just, standard convenience type lighting, safety lighting versus competition, I'm guessing is well over $200,000. It's a large chunk.
Yeah. See, just saved you $200,000. How awesome was that?
But it still will be set up for competitions and stuff like that they want to,
Yeah, the
they
course
want to
code,
have.
it just won't be limited to
Excuse me.
viewing and
Right, right.
Did you not get it there, Dr. Hartman?
I don't know.
Yep, there it is, $10,000.
Any additional questions, comments regarding lighting? Okay. Then we will move forward to 7.05, LCLC Director, Purchase Service Agreement with the Education Foundation.
Yep, so this will officially, they are in the process of trying to figure out, when we look at, let me back up a little bit. When we look at how larger education foundations such as Council Bluffs Community Foundation or Education Foundation, when we looked at them and said, okay, how is the Council Bluffs Foundation have multiple full-time employees, they're able to fund a lot more projects, are able to put a lot more money back into the schools, their philanthropy is a lot more, and then we looked at Lewis Central Education Foundation that started 3 years ago when I got here. They weren't even comparable. I mean, Council Bluffs probably operates off of almost, I don't know, close to $1 million budget a year, and we operate off of a $20,000 budget a year, maybe 40, depending on the year and our donations. And so, but a lot of it had to do with, what is the function of their organization? The function of Council Bluffs organizations runs a daycare. That runs before and after school programming. And they use that as a catalyst to be able to fund a lot of their projects that they do in the school with the overage. What the Lewis Central Education Foundation funds is they fund scholarships, they manage scholarship funds for people who want to donate and create lifelong legacies. And they do a lot of classroom grants, so small classroom grants that they give throughout the year. And so really that's the Education Foundation has full-time employees. Or the Council Bluffs Foundation has full-time employees. The Education Foundation is run off a group of just volunteers. And so significantly different. So we said, how do we start ramping up opportunity? Well, you can't just go out and hire someone and be like, hey, we're gonna hire you, go start making money, go start asking for donations and philanthropy. You gotta start with something. So we talked about maybe this is a good opportunity for us to move LCLC as an entity over to the Education Foundation instead of having the school run it, the foundation would run it. They would still be operating out of our district just like Council Bluffs does. They would have an office here at the ERC, and we would become more entwined with the Education Foundation, but they would really run the daycare, the before and after school care, et cetera. So when we started looking at this, we said, well, right now they have 0 employees. To go from 0 employees to now absorbing the entire organization, that's a heavy, heavy lift. Like, how would you even get there? You need startup funds. You need a lot of different things to be able to get there. We have the program. It's not as easy as just handing it off because they don't have a single HR. I mean, they have no HR right now. They have no accounts payable. They have Mr. Jim Watson and a couple other people that are managing their finances, and Jim's great, but that's not his full-time gig. And so how do we start entwining some of these? So one of the things we had, our LCLC director left us in November, Mrs. Reyes and I have been kind of managing it since. We talked about what if we just started with one employee? What if this is the time, because we're looking for a director anyway, for them to hire one employee, partner with an organization like NAM, which is the Nonprofit Association of the Midlands, to help them do their HR, to help them do their accounts payable, basically have them with one employee. Then once that employee is settled after a few months, then they can start taking over some more of the operations. And I said that would work out great. And what the arrangement we made was they would bill us their true cost of the employee, and then we would pay them. And so that helps them get their first employee off the ground, helps them start to get familiar with HR and accounts payable and accounts receivable and kind of managing all that. We would essentially keep the daycare. We're just paying for their one employee to come and be our director. And so if you go down to, I sent you that email from Mr. Nitschke.
You have to delete all your emails.
It is in the trash.
Go to the spam.
I'll forward it again for you. Okay, I just forwarded it to you again. So it's a really simple agreement. Basically just says that we're going to be contracting services for our LCLC director from LCEF, and that we would pay an amount not to exceed $15,000 a month. So we want to kind of put a cap on it, because it is going to cost them some money to get HR up and going, to get their accounts payable and receivable up and going. And actually that would be a cost that we would take on for them, because they don't have any of that right now. It doesn't matter, because it's coming out of not coming out of our general funds, it's coming out of our daycare funds, which can only be spent on daycare. So if you zoom in a little bit, you'll see, so everybody can see it. So this is, and the date is the 18th of November. That actually needs to be changed to I'll have him update it. So I want to have you guys approve it with an amendment to put the date as the current date, which is February 3rd, 2024. So essentially the purpose of the agreement is for them to provide a DHHS certified daycare provider. And then we're going to pay them an amount not to exceed $15,000. And then right now this would expire on July 1st, 2024, because that's the anticipated date that they're going to take over the daycare. Or not 2024, 2025, yep. If they need more time, let's say, for whatever reason we roll around and they're not ready to take on the daycare for whatever reason, they've gone through another director or whatever it is, then we would just vote to probably renew this and then continue on until they get to a point where they're able to take over the director, so, or the daycare.
I'm sorry if I missed it or you said it, but will the director have benefits, and will those?
Everything's
healthcare?
from, yep,
It's
everything's
still
from
from the district?
LCEF. Yep. So LCEF does everything. They do the employee, they do the salary, they do the benefits. We are just paying them the cost for all of that.
How are they obtaining benefits for a sole employee?
They're gonna give them a stipend.
Okay.
Yep. So the benefit, so yeah, it'll become with a stipend amount, and then
So they won't actually provide them with healthcare, it'll be here's,
they can provide through NAM, they can provide a, it's called, what is it called? I sat in all these meetings. It's like a health insurance package that costs them like $500 a year, but it's essentially like telehealth.
okay, so it is through that NAM that you
Yes,
mentioned. Okay.
yeah. So they would
Okay.
do that. And then that's through NAMS also, where they would provide an opportunity for like, to pay in a 403B, I think it is, and so.
Okay.
So they have some retirement benefits and that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
So we are going to, because we've had the posting up, we have the applicants have applied to us. I'm gonna start making contact with the applicants tomorrow and just say, you know, it's gonna be, we are ready to do, interviews, however, the employment is gonna be through, the LCEF. We're gonna purchase your services back. Your role will essentially stay the same. It's just, you'll be hired by a different entity, which means different salary benefits, et cetera. So, some people who aren't necessarily looking for healthcare or like IPERS might be more enticed to receive a lump sum, you know, cash to be able to do that. So, so we'll see.
So will we have a representative on the hiring committee? I mean,
Yep.
that will
Oh,
be-
yep. I will be a part of all that.
Okay.
Yep.
And then how does that work with evaluations and that, annual evaluations and supervising? Because I'm sure the, Education Foundation won't be in the building, they won't.
Correct. Yep.
So how does that work?
It would work very similar to how like our other partnerships work, like with Green Hills AEA. Like we have Green Hills AEA people who are in our building all the time. They're not supervised by us. They are supervised by Green Hills AEA. They do their evaluation with a mix of their interactions with the employee and then our interactions with the employee. So
Okay,
they ask for
that
feedback.
You would be contacted to see
Correct,
if there's
yep.
any, your input on the
Correct, yep.
evaluation.
And with any, I mean, and if all this works out as swimmingly as I believe it will, as of July 1st, we won't have anything to do with it anyway. So, other than they will operate the daycare in our facility.
Okay, well, I think that LCLC pays the district so much to be in
Correct, yep, they
the
would pay,
facility, so that would continue.
that would continue. They would have to pay a rental fee.
Okay.
But then, like, right now, we do everything for it. Like, we do all the accounts payable, all the receivables, all the employees are ours. So all the payroll, I mean, everything is ours. All of that would go over to LCEF, and they would then just pay us a rent payment for the facility use of our building. So,
And then they would take over the payments by the parents.
yep, all the
And then
billing.
they would take care of all the billing and paying employees and that, so this is
Correct.
just through June 30th.
Yeah,
basically.
that
Unless
hopefully,
there's
correct.
issues, then it might continue.
Yeah, if we get the right person and they learn quickly and they feel comfortable to be able to take over those responsibilities as far as, because we're hiring them, so they're still gonna supervise our employees. So really the function shouldn't change much when it goes over the LCEF, other than we'll have to really train the director when they come in to work with NAM to be able to figure out the HR and payroll portion of it, because that's really what they're gonna be missing from us. So we now manage all of that, so that'll be the biggest lift.
Were there any other additional comments, questions? Okay. Then we will move to the second portion of our meeting where we open up the floor to any comments and suggestions from the public. Do we have any? Okay. And we'll proceed to action items. To 9.01, Optimized Systems HVAC Control Bill.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the bid for HVAC controls from Optimized Systems for $128,000.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.02, secure entrance design bid, BCDM.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the design fees for the secure high school and craft entrances from BCDM for a total for Crafton High School, $146,250.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.03, parking lot light design by Alvine Engineering.
And it's actually Alvine.
I know, I
No.
just caught that
Yeah.
on that quote.
Yeah, I must have done text to right or something, I don't know. So Alvine with a V.
Do we have a motion?
Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to approve design bid by Alvine Engineering for the parking lot light design in the amount of $12,000 or $12,500.
Second.
Vote, please.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.04, tennis court electrical design, also by Alvine Engineering.
Mr. President,
Yes, Greg.
I'd like the motion to approve design bid by Alvine Engineering for the tennis court electrical design in the amount of $10,000.
Second.
I do have a question. If at some point in the future we need to have competition lights, will it be difficult to add that? Or, I mean, will there be conduit that we can, or would it be all new?
I could tell them to design, with the current lighting we would put in, we can get away with pretty small conduit, pretty small wires.
Okay.
Voltage stuff. But if we went to bigger stuff, it'd probably take a lot more power
Okay.
through the wires, which would need bigger conduit, so we could install bigger conduit now, so that's there.
I don't foresee us
It
needing
wouldn't
it,
affect
but I
your-
just wanted to ask that
It
question.
wouldn't affect your design cost right now, but
Okay.
if that's something you want, we could request it.
I think it'd be going from like a light bulb to the football stadium lights, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking a significant difference.
Yeah, wasn't that the 200,000?
Yeah.
250 or something. Pretty astronomical.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Can we get a vote, please?
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. 9.05, LCLC Director, Purchase Service Agreement with the Lewis Central Education Foundation.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion to approve the purchase service agreement with LCEF as presented.
Second.
Okay. Vote, please.
Mr. Sorensen?
Yes.
Mr. Sturm?
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mrs. Shuffle?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes. Items of interest, future board meetings. Our next scheduled regular board meeting will be February 17th, 2025. Okay. And then we have adjournment, so do I have a motion to close for the evening?
So
Motion to
moved.
adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye.